The invocation by Mr. Goodman, then join us in the pledge.
Let us stand, please, and gentlemen, remove your head covers, if you will. Let us pray. Our Father and our God in heaven, we come to thee in prayer, thanking you, humbly thanking you for this beautiful day that we have. And we thank you for the opportunity to represent our citizens in this meeting of this government body. We pray for those who have special needs, Father. We pray a special prayer for the tragedies in this community that seem to be happening all too frequently. Please lead people to reach out for help. Let us be of assistance where we can as government leaders. We ask that you bless us in these considerations, and all of these things we ask in thy precious name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Kate.
All commissioners are present.
Are there any amendments to the agenda? Seeing none? Can we get a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Second. First and second, all in favor? Motion's adopted. This brings us to the approval of the April 4th minutes of the public hearing and regular meeting minutes. Can I get a motion to accept if there's no changes?
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Got a first and second to adopt the minutes. All in favor? Motion carries. All right, this brings us to presentations. Okay.
Yes, we have a presentation tonight. It is a proclamation recognizing Crime Victims' Rights Week. Whereas the term victim is more than just a label and has legal standing and protections that go along with it. Whereas Crime Victims' Rights Act passed here in Georgia and at the federal level guarantee victims the right to meaningfully participate and use their voice in the criminal justice process. And whereas victim service providers, advocates, law enforcement officers, attorneys, and other allied professionals can help survivors find justice by enforcing these rights. And whereas the right to provide an impact statement ensures that victims' voices are considered in court during the sentencing and, when applicable, restitution processes. Whereas including and elevating the voices of survivors makes certain they are heard and seen and creates a path to forging and sustaining community trust. And whereas engaging survivors creates responses and services that are credible, meaningful, and centered on individual needs. And whereas survivors' lived experience can serve as a catalyst for implementing innovative programs, shifting existing programs in new directions, and changing policies or practices that prevent survivors from accessing services and pursuing justice. And whereas National Crime Victims' Rights Week provides an opportunity to recommit to listening to crime survivors in every space where decisions are made that could impact them. And whereas the Camden County Board of Commissioners are hereby dedicated to amplifying the voices of survivors and creating an environment where survivors have the confidence that they will be heard, believed, and supported. And now therefore be it resolved by the Camden County Board of Commissioners to hereby proclaim the week of April 23rd through the 29th as Crime Victims' Rights Week, reaffirming this county's commitment to creating a victim service and criminal justice response that assists all victims of crime during Crime Victims' Rights Week and throughout the year, and expressing our sincere gratitude and appreciation for those community members, victim service providers, and criminal justice professionals who are committed to improving our response to all victims of crime so that they may find relevant assistance, support, justice, and peace. And I believe we have District Attorney Keith Higgins here this evening. If you'd like to come up and we'll get a picture as well.
Get you a photo thing.
We are aiming for the center.
Appreciate you.
Get everybody moving together just a little bit. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Chairman Casey, with your permission, may I just say a few words?
Yes, sir.
Chairman and Commissioners, I just want to thank you for the opportunity to come here tonight in front of you. Thank you for this proclamation. Thank you for everything that you do to support law enforcement and victims in this community. I want to personally invite you to the Crime Victims Memorial Ceremony that's going to be held here on the courthouse steps on Thursday, April 27th at 3 p.m. And also want to invite everyone else who's present as well and all of the citizens of Camden County. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This brings us to presentation for Employee of the Quarter.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Amy Peoples, and I have Judy Pratt here with me. We're on the Employee Recognition Committee, and we have the honor tonight to present the Employee of the First Quarter for 2023. The Employee Recognition Committee received 15 nominations for Employee of the Quarter. We had several employees with several nominations. It's always difficult to pick just one employee for this recognition. Tonight, we would like to recognize a Camden County Sheriff's Office employee. He was nominated by 3 different coworkers. One response said he displays great leadership qualities. He steps up without being asked and is always looking for a solution to help everything flow better. Another response said he puts himself before others. He's a great sergeant, has a positive attitude, and is always a team player. The third nomination said he is consistent in his leadership and spends time and effort shaping tomorrow's leaders. He goes above and beyond every day and does everything he can to boost morale. This employee started with Camden County 911 Center in 2008 as a communications officer trainee. He then transferred over to patrol and became a Camden County Sheriff's Office deputy in 2009. He has since worked his way through the ranks to become a staff sergeant with the patrol division. Tonight, we'd like to recognize Staff Sergeant Steve McKinney with the Camden County Sheriff's Office as our employee of the first quarter for 2023. You know, want to take some pictures, I'm sure.
Well, we can do it. Get her exercise. Hey, you. All these pictures with the sheriff's deputies and VA, I don't know. Thank you, sir.
Steve, you know, I worked with you a long time, and I didn't think you would stoop so low.
Should have done that before.
You guys know as well as anybody that in taking support of a family to be able to do the job that y'all do.
And they're not there.
for Amy Vincent.
Let me get out of the way.
Hurry up.
I don't need me in that.
I'll take credit.
Yeah.
Closer together.
I want y'all to tell him everything you know.
All right, this brings us to our last presentation, for Government Finance Officers Association Distinguished Budget Award.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's my pleasure to announce that Finance has achieved this award for the 8th consecutive year. This award represents a significant achievement by the Finance Department. It reflects the commitment of the governing body and staff to meeting the highest principles of governmental budgeting. And in order to receive this budget award, the entity had to satisfy nationally recognized guidelines for effective budget presentation. These guidelines are designed to assess how well an entity's budget serves as a policy document, a financial plan, an operations guide, a communications device. The budget documents must be rated proficient in all 4 categories, and then the 14 mandatory criteria within those categories to receive this award. There's over 1,700 participants in this program, and the award recipients have pioneered efforts to improve the quality of budgeting and provide an excellent example for other governments throughout the U.S. So just want to recognize the Finance Department for all of their hard work. And obviously you all set that budget, and I know it's sometimes painstaking to have to go through, and right now we're going through the budget committees right now. So we'll be submitting this budget obviously for that, the upcoming budget for this award too. So we'll recognize Finance with a press release this week. So just wanted to highlight them. Thank you.
Well, thank you. All right, this brings us to our first public comments section. This is on comments regarding the items on the agenda only. We'll limit it to 3 minutes each.
Mr. Steve Winkle.
I'm sorry, the sound is not amplified very well in here tonight. I'm sorry, what was the time limit?
3 minutes.
Thank you. I'm going to speak to the budget award. I think the people who worked to put this budget award together worked very hard to do it. I am curious about whether, I have 2 questions about it. How much did we pay for it this year? Was it the $575 fee or the $1,150 fee? Because that's what you do, is you pay a fee. And you fill out a form and you submit your documents. Here's the 7 pages of questions. They're pretty innocuous questions. They would be the things that you would learn in accounting school, would be necessary for a proper budget, and that every business in the country would expect every accountant in their company to do it. Exactly the same thing that's on this sheet. So paying to get an award isn't really an award. It's like a participation trophy. Now, you do have to check the boxes and you have to do the things that they require. No question about that. But that isn't an individual accomplishment. That's just doing minimum work that is expected. A bigger concern for mine is the fact that each year since 2012, the comprehensive annual financial report is getting later and later, issued longer and longer after the close of the year. In 2012, the CAFR was released December 12th, 2012. In 2022, it hasn't been released yet in 2023. It's now 292 days past the end of the spending for fiscal year 22. We're in fiscal year 23. And I'm really, really curious about why each year it's gone from 165 to 183 to 189 to 213 to 265, and now we're at 292 days without having the comprehensive annual financial report, which tells us how we spent our money 20 months ago. And so while we're handing out awards, let's talk about coming in last place, because 292 days is unacceptable. We have been spending money since last July 1st under another new budget, and we don't even know how it went last year. Not yet. How can y'all make any decisions? How can you spend any money when you don't have the comprehensive annual financial report 292 days after the end of the year?
Time's up, Mr. Wayne. Thank you. Anybody else, Kate?
Not right, Mr. Chairman.
Anybody from the public wish to speak? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to the regular agenda. Brings us to item number 1.
Good evening, Commissioners. The first agenda item is to consider the approval of funding for local match for the Safety Action Program. 2 weeks ago, the GDOT office reached out and let us know that we were selected for a special LMIG grant, which the LMIG is the local maintenance improvement grant that helps us resurface roads and do other things with our infrastructure. But there's also an additional grant that's just for safety. So they reached out and said that Camden County was selected this year to participate in that. The amount shall not exceed $170,000 that comes from the state of Georgia DOT. Our local match would be 30%. There are very specific guidelines. I would go through the same process as the LMIG of telling them what we would do and how much, and there's still an approval process. They actually give us the specific roads based on crashes, fatalities, and accidents. And then we tell them on those roads what we would do. So if we get to go through this, it could be beacons, raised pavement markers, center line or shoulder rumble strips. It can be different signaling or guardrails. So what I would do is take this list of roads and then identify and go through and drive. I mean, some of them we already know very well. So it won't be hard, and it's certainly not hard to spend $170,000 on safety improvements with our infrastructure. But that is what this is for. We would have to be under contract by March of 2024, which again won't be hard to do. There are certainly select items. So what I would do is present a list to you, come back and let you know what roads we've looked at and spoken with other folks. We do have some engineering consultants that could also give some suggestions on what the best thing would be to do. And I'll work with the Georgia Department of Transportation as well. I'm sure their construction team can also help give us some ideas. And then I would come back and present to you and ask if that's which roads you want to do those on. So right now, based on the top roads and the severity score, we would be looking at Dover Bluff, Horse Stamp Church Road, 3R Fish Camp, Harriet's Bluff, and Refuge Road. They are the 5 out of the 11 that are the highest ranking severity scores. Most of them are the sharp curves. So that's what I'm asking for today, is the approval to have the $51,000 to match towards the $170,000 grant.
Thank you. Can we get a motion on this item?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? We got a motion and a second to fund this safety program. All in favor? Motion carries unanimously.
The next item is just to give an update on the fiscal year 22 and 23 roads for the LMIG resurfacing for our newest commissioners. These roads were already approved in FY22 and FY23. We had a significant amount of roads, and most of them were long in mileage, meaning Spring Bluff and Refuge and Piney Bluff. We had roads that were several miles long. So we needed to combine 2 years together in order to get a better pricing from our contractors. So at this point, we have created the list. We will be putting out the RFP. I've got a combined 16.5 miles. I anticipate the pricing coming into, we may have to limit that or make changes. But I would rather put it all out now and know what those pricings are. So we broke the 16.5 miles down into 4 sections, and each of those sections will be priced out accordingly. So again, we may have to make difficult decisions, but I've, went through our road condition assessment. I've analyzed the roads. If you go to the 3rd page. So this was the original one. We had some preliminary pricing that I put together. If we go with the resurfacing and using a pavement preservation, we're going to look at close to 1.5 miles. If we go back to the traditional hot mix of asphalt, it would be 2.5. I think we are still in a position with the amount of roads that we have and the amount of mileage. We need to continue going with the pavement preservation option. While it does not give you as many years, we won't ever be able to get ahead and preserve the amount of mileage that we need to. So I am recommending that we still continue to do the pavement preservation, and in hopes that, basically if we continue to work within 5 years, we will get to a point where we are preserving all of them and stopping any further water damage and intrusion. Can you go to the next slide, please? So the top, where I've got the recommended preservation is the roads that we are looking that include the 16 miles. That is based on their current condition index. We may have to make some changes. We certainly still have a lot of our smaller subdivisions that still have significantly lower scores, but we just have to work through those over the next 2 to 3 years. And then we're getting back into a place where we may even be able to do some pavement preservation techniques that are less expensive than the ones we're doing now, but still be able to take care of the roads. We have, if you go to the next slide. So right now we are down to 20 miles. That is less than the 70 condition index, which is pretty good. 35 miles between 70 and 79. And then we've got the bulk majority. So the idea and the goal is to get those last 55 miles to a condition where we can use a different pavement preservation that is much less costly on those that are in the 80s that are going to save that pavement and make it even longer. We do obviously have Highway 259, Colerain. All of those roads are significantly long in mileage that are going to be catching up to us. So does anyone have any questions on our LMIG process or the roads that we will be putting out the request for proposal, hopefully within the next week or two, and then we'll be making a decision.
Good.
Okay, and I guess while I have a captive audience, my last update would be on the right-of-way mowing. So we started last Tuesday to be exact. We started out on the Harriet's Bluff area. We did break up our county roads into 3 sections. Previously, they were done with a south end crew, a north end crew, and then a regular cut. We've changed that a little bit. So far, our production rates have been really well. I think we're ahead by 1 day, even with last Thursday being a rain day. So the litter crews have been able to stay in front of the 0 turns. We are making some adjustments to the tractors to make sure they keep up, but we are anticipating being able to do everything we need to do in probably 8 days, less than 10. So we will have enough time for maintenance, rain day, and not get behind. So the first litter pickup has been obviously slower. I think we had 58 bags on Vicuna Road alone, and that took us 2 days, which Vicuna has always been our worst. But some of the subdivisions, certainly they police a lot better, and we were able to cruise through some of those. And moving forward, right now we're picking up 4 months worth of litter, so it is going to go slower this cycle than it will in the future cycles. So I would encourage, if anybody does get feedback, positive or negative, I'm not on Facebook, but feel free to share it on my email and we'll address it. But
Thank you.
thank you.
All right, Kevin, you're up.
Good evening, Commissioners, Chairman. Thank you for your time. Come to y'all tonight to request consideration for approval of purchasing a steel building for the construction of a K-9 training center. The purchase price is $43,592.64. Part of that money was donated by citizens of Camden County. It's $1,378.64 was donated through funds through the citizens of Camden to help purchase this building to erect it for our canine guys and canine dogs. We anticipate it probably going up probably about July. This money was funded last year, or this year's budget, FY '23, approved in the budget out of $75,000. This is the last remaining part of it. This building will temporarily house the canines during training being used during the day, throughout the day, any kind of short trips they may take, or any other agencies that come in that area. So it wouldn't be anything to do with the septic system. If it is, we'll dispose of it as we need to accordingly. And that's it.
Still gonna need some money for electrical and finishing the offices.
Yes, sir. That's what we'll process, look into that for next year's budget. Yes, sir.
Can I get a motion on this item?
Motion to approve.
Second. Any more discussion? All in favor? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Brings us to item number 3, agreement with CSRA Probation Service for Superior Court.
I can take that, Chairman.
Okay.
This agreement is with CSRA Probation Services, Inc. for the oversight of probation services with Superior Court. I don't know if you remember previously, the company was called Satilla Probation, and since then Kathy has sold that business and it is now by the name of CSRA. It's the same agreement. The judge has already signed off on it, and basically we're just by law blessing it.
Okay. Can we get a motion on this item?
Motion for approval.
Second. So we got a first and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Okay, motion carries unanimously. Brings us to reports.
There's no changes to the calendar at this time.
Okay. County Administrator comments?
Mr. Chairman, I got a few things just to update you all on. So at the last meeting, I mentioned, the county property auction went very well. All 4 properties sold, but I did not mention the dollar figure because I wanted to make sure we got all of the cashier's checks in appropriately, and we did receive them all. So all of the amounts were $58,000 combined. The largest property was, I believe, $32,000, which was just over that was the 6-acre tract over in Woodland Way. So very successful turnout for that. Don't forget about the Citizens Academy. We've got 24 registered applicants and participants for this year's Citizens Academy. It begins this Thursday night at 6 p.m. We'll kick it off over in the historic courtroom. The budget committee meetings, those started last Friday. Been doing, I think we did a pretty good job at the first round, which we still have several departments and offices to go. But I think we cut probably about 10% of the $3 million for the general fund that we still need to go. But we also received just over $9 million in capital expenditure requests, so we still got a good ways to go there. The airport justification, the draft report for that, I've given that to each of you all. I've also sent it electronically. You have the financial plan as well as the justification analysis. The financial plan is finalized. The justification analysis is in draft form. Please take the time to review that. Let me know if you have any feedback. Still reaching out to a few folks in the community to get some further feedback from that. The Woodbine Library Agreement, I have given you all the newest draft. I met with Clinton Moxley, the Three Rivers Regional Library Director, and Erica, his Assistant Director, last Thursday to discuss their version as well as ours. And what you see that you have in front of you, there's some highlighted sections. Those are the sections that were updated based off of the mold from theirs and ours, and that was all coming out of that discussion. So if there's any feedback that you all have from that, take the time to review that, let me know. And as soon as I get all of your feedback and we're able to send that on to them, we'll send it to them and hope to hear back from his board, and then we'll bring it back before you all for final approval. So that's how that process is working through. Another event that we have coming up on April 21st and 22nd, it's running from 11 a.m. on the 21st through 11 a.m. on the 22nd, is the Earth Day Amnesty event. This is an event where we've partnered with the cities, And it's mainly to give citizens the opportunity to bring any type of residential waste. This does not apply to commercial businesses and waste haulers, but more so for Camden County residents. They'll have the opportunity to dispose of bag garbage, yard trimmings, any kind of tree parts, materials, residential tires, bulky items such as furniture and large and small appliances, C&D type materials, and things like carpet, fencing, any type of wood materials. However, we will not accept hazardous materials. So just wanted to give everybody an update on that. And for those that are in the audience, in the event that you all would like to participate in that. And that is my update, unless if there's any questions.
Board have any questions?
No.
This brings us to the last public comment section. It'll be limited to 3 minutes. Is there any registered speakers?
Yes, sir, Mr. Ricky Manning.
And I also want to point out that we've got a code of conduct, and I ask that you please abide by it. We will.
Thank you.
Rick Manning from Bullhead. As you can see, I presented Miss Katie with a cake. Well, it would be a welcome change if the board would break some cake with the citizens instead of trying to break their will. Meanwhile, gentlemen, I come before you to exercise one of the most basic yet important civil rights granted to us by our founders, the right to free speech. The most basic civil right was deemed to be so important that the founders deemed it worthy to be number one. Yet one member of this board has chosen to punish me for exercising my civil right and use his position of power to retaliate against me for my criticism of the actions of this board. I am not here to discuss or litigate the actions of this member. I'm here for one of two things. That is either the resignation of Mr. Reddick or his removal immediately by the other members of this board. This member has made threats publicly to punish me for exercising my most basic civil right and made other comments publicly mocking others of their chosen lifestyles. These actions have no place on this board or in this county. We have a long-standing condition of mutual respect between members of the board and the citizens who voted them in. While we do not agree on everything, I do respect this board, its members, and the authority we have placed upon it. I am not going to take this abuse of power lightly. The denial of our most basic civil rights shall not go unpunished. I hope the other members see the dark path this member has chosen and will do what is right to preserve the integrity of this board. If this member will do what is right and remove himself, I will cease all actions I have started in this matter. If he or this board chooses to ignore my request, I will seek all damages allowed to me under the law for what is a very clear abuse of power and violation of my civil rights. If this board takes no action, we the people will know that they condone such actions or are complacent in this matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Anybody else? Present? Anybody else wish to speak? All right, seeing none, this time we need a motion to adjourn the regular meeting and convene executive session for the purpose of discussion, information technology.
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Motion carries. All in favor? Motion carries. All right, do we have anything coming out of executive session?
Yes, sir. I'd like to make a motion to approve the consolidation and extension of IT security contracts.
Second.
I'll do a first and second. All in favor? Motion carries. All right, this brings us to adjournment. Have a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Second. All in favor? All right, we are done. Thank you.